simply this. It is a positive remedy for the stomach, kidney, livers, cuts, burns, and bruises, pains in the small of the back, lumbago rheumatism, ailments of the eyes, ears, nose, and throat, and all points with it. And now, friends, my agents will pass among you. Come on, boys, let us go. Here on.
Sounds silly, doesn't it? But if I use scientific-sounding words instead of carnival barker talk, there are millions or billions of people who would believe it. This video will show you how, in the United States today, perfectly legal remedies sold at your local chain pharmacy are just as useless and just as dangerous as anything the old medicine shows ever dealt in. You'll see some, just a tiny fraction, of the enormous number of useless so-called medications that are being used right now by perfectly intelligent people. We will also discuss the question of why. How are people being fooled into using clearly ineffective remedies? Finally, we'll end with a discussion of what we can do to help. We'll start with one that even sounds silly. Ear candling is exactly what it sounds like. People stick candles in their ears and light them. They use special hollow candles, not birthday candles or something. The idea is that the flame sucks oxygen out of the hollow, and that plus the heat of the candle softens and removes earwax. It also is said to cure many other diseases and problems, a partial list of which includes temporomandibular syndrome, or TMJ, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, relief of sinus pressure, earache, and much vaguer things like relieving tension and purifying the blood. Does setting something in your ear on fire sound dangerous? It can be. While it is certainly uncommon, there have been cases in which the candler has set his or her own hair on fire or dripped hot wax into his or her own ear, causing burns. Most ear candle makers recommend using an assistant to try to avoid these problems. That's also the reason for the shield you see in this image. Did you notice how these candles are claimed to cure or prevent about 8 different things, only some of them even related to the ears? That's one characteristic of snake oil medicine, claiming to cure lots of different things, and some of them or all of them being very vague and hard to define. It's easy to claim your product relieves tension when that's all you say. It's much harder to prove the clear, specific claim lowers high blood pressure. The specific claims are the kind that real medicine is held to. Why is it snake oil? Because for one thing, careful experiments have shown that the candles don't remove any wax from the ear in the first place. The idea that the candle can somehow suck anything out of the sinuses is silly. The eardrum blocks the ear canal off from all other structures inside the head. Bottom line, there is literally no evidence that ear candles work. People will report that after using ear candles, they did feel better. This is known as the placebo effect. In general, people will report feeling better after any treatment, regardless of whether the treatment actually does anything. So why do people do it? Well, it's inexpensive. The candles can cost as little as $2. It has a nice new agey sound to it with talks of things like energy and stress reduction. And it doesn't seem very risky. Mostly, though, I think people just don't think clearly about it. If you see a product in a health food store or a drugstore, it must be healthy. At this point, you might be thinking, well, ear candling just sounds stupid. It doesn't even sound very scientific. Another very popular form of alternative medicine, homeopathy, is considered to be very scientific by its fans. Homeopathy is based on 2 principles. One, you can cure a medical problem by giving a substance to the patient that would cause their symptoms. For instance, if the patient has fever, you would treat it with a substance that causes fever. The other major principle says that the smaller the dose of the medication you give, the more powerful the effect. Homeopathic remedies are almost all completely harmless because even if they're giving something extremely toxic like mercury, they give such a tiny dose that there is no effect. In fact, many homeopathic remedies are diluted so much that they have no ingredients. For example, a common homeopathic remedy for the common cold is oscillococcinum. Oscillococcinum is goose or duck heart and liver ground finely and suspended in water and then diluted 100 to 1 200 times. Then to make pills, the water is used to moisten sugar, which is then dried and compacted into the actual pills. Ask any chemist. Diluting 100 to 1 200 times leaves not one molecule in each pill. The only thing in the pills is the sugar that the water was dripped on. It's literally a sugar pill. Okay, it sounds silly, but actual experimental tests are always the final word in medicine. As you might expect when I'm discussing it here, many experiments over decades of research have found no evidence that a homeopathic remedy works better than plain sugar or water. After all, for the dilutions on most homeopathic remedies, they literally are nothing but a sugar pill. Well, it sounds scientific. It uses Latin words like similas, practitioners write prescriptions, and homeopathic remedies often come from someone the person respects, like a naturopath, or are found, once again, in drugstores. Highly intelligent people can be found using homeopathic remedies simply because they've never taken the time to research what they are or how they're supposed to work. After all, how many of you listening have ever researched, for example, aspirin or Pepto-Bismol to be sure they work? I'm sure that 99% of us just assumed that they work since they're on the shelf in the drugstore. So, what can we do about snake oil medicine? I believe that think better would be a good answer. That is, to use a relevant expression, easy to prescribe, but hard to administer. How can we make people think? We can't, but we can encourage them. I used to be a school teacher. What with teaching to standardized tests, short class periods, short school years, and all the other problems that you've all heard about with education, it's very hard to teach anything but memorization. If the student can't recite back the required standard answers to standard tests, your school loses funding. We as a society can change that. One thing that can be done is fixing the Food and Drug Administration. Congress has passed laws specifically limiting the FDA's ability to regulate certain kinds of pseudomedicine. They have made ear candles illegal, but their budget is low enough that they can't enforce that. If people want these things fixed, it's up to our representatives, and in the end, it's up to us. As individuals, we can act rationally, and we can be the voice of reason when a friend is using magnets to treat a sprained ankle or coral calcium for cancer. It's unpleasant to disagree with people on something important like this, but you might save a life. Even when the snake oil is harmless in itself, like most homeopathic remedies, someone might use it instead of seeing a doctor or taking real treatments. We don't want to let our friends and loved ones get their medical advice from the snake oil salesman.